We are at page 4 now. I title this as On the Day of Judgment, because that is the day we will be resurrected. And those who did not observe, perform, and establish the Salat, the contact prayer, correctly, will not be able to do the following positions correctly, according to Surah 68, verse 42 to 43, and Surah 77, verse 48. As I said on page 3, this will be explained here on page 4. I'm going to start with Surah 68 from verse 42, and it ends at verse 45, as it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The day the leg will be exposed, and they will be called to prostrate, but they will be unable to. With their eyes subdued, humiliation will cover them. They were called to fall prostrate when they were whole and able. Therefore, let me deal with whoever denies this hadith. We will lead them on whence they never perceive. I will respite them. Indeed, my plan is formidable. Mateen. As you can see here in verse 42, they will be called to fall prostrate, but they will be unable to. This is because the majority of those who do not follow the instructions of the only authorized hadith, the Quran, fall prostrate on their foreheads. And thus, verse 43, which says, with their eyes subdued, humiliation will cover them, for the reason that they are on their foreheads. This is because in their hadith, other than God's, say to fall prostrate on their foreheads. And that is why verse 44 here clearly says, therefore, let me deal with those who denies this hadith. We will lead them on whence they never perceive. Meaning God's only authorized hadith is the Quran, and most people won't even have a clue that they are in error. And verse 45 is very prophetic. Now, that covers the prostrations. Let's see now Surah 77 verse 47 to 50. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Woe on that day to the deniers when they are told, irka'u, kneel, they do not kneel. Woe on that day to the deniers. Then which hadith other than this do they believe? Clearly that day is the day of judgment, which is clarified in the same Surah 77 from verse 8 to 15, in case you have any doubts. Therefore, at verse 48 it says, irka'u, kneel, which we saw clearly in page 3 with accurate proofs of it as kneel and not bow. Then in the same verse 48 it says, they do not kneel, la yarka'un. So in other words, on the day of judgment, they will be told to irka'u, and they will bow instead of kneeling, because they bowed, God says, la yarka'un, meaning they do not kneel. Again, just like prostration, in their hadiths, it says to bow and not kneel. That is again why God says at the end here, then which hadith other than this do they believe? Subhanallah Rabbil Alameen. Thus, the Master of the Judgment Day, Surah 1 verse 4, God will ask those who follow the hadiths other than His only authorized hadith, the Quran, to kneel and prostrate correctly, just like I proved to you on page 3. It's a predetermined fact that most cannot. Note, both surahs mention hadith. This is a powerful, clear proof to back up what I said on page 3, which page 3 itself suffices with its proofs. God bears witness between me and between you, the viewer. وَإِنَّنِي بَارِيٌ مِمَّا تُشْرِكُونَ. And indeed, I disassociate from whatever you associate, except Allah, God. Here are proofs from the previous scripture. The Psalms 95 verse 6. Prophet David parallels worship and bowing down with kneeling before Yahweh, God. Oh come, let us worship and bow down, let us kneel before Yahweh, our Maker. And the Second Chronicles 6 verse 10 to 13 says, so Yahweh has fulfilled his word which he spoke, and I fulfilled the position of my father David, and sit on the throne of Israel, as Yahweh promised, and I have built the temple for the name of Yahweh, God of Israel, and there I have put the ark, in which is the covenant of Yahweh, which he made with the children of Israel. Then Solomon stood before the altar of Yahweh in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands. Now he had made a bronze platform, 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high, and had placed it in the center of the outer court. He stood on the platform, and then knelt down before the whole assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands towards the heaven. And then he said a famous prayer. in Ezra 9 verse 5. At the evening sacrifice I rose from my fasting, and having torn my garment and my robe, I fell on my knees and spread out my hands to Yahweh, my God. That is why you see me sending my blessings to God, Allah, Almighty, Most Wise, Azizul Hakim, my Lord and your Lord, whom I love the most. This concludes page 4, and God knows best. And now, the proof and reasoning for the Allahu Akbar. God is greater.